Joyful blessings. This is Kaylin Castell. Super excited to share with you about a very rare Venus retrograde. Now, Venus does go retrograde about every 19 months, and it is retrograde for nearly 40 days, or sometimes more than 40 days, sometimes a little less. But this retrograde, March 1st to April 12th of 2025, is astounding. First, I want to remind you that I did do a Venus retrograde video for any Venus retrograde. It doesn't have the dates or anything that's going on with Venus retrograde, but it does describe the three phases of the Venus retrograde cycle. Phase one is when she goes retrograde in the evening sky and begins the integration and reflection of the previous cycle that she is now getting ready to complete. Then she goes into the underworld. We call this the metamorphic underworld, where she's changing from one identity to another and meeting with the sun. And then she rises up as morning star, rising into her new identity, beginning a new 19-month initiatory cycle. And that video describes those phases in detail and ways to work with it. And then also it helps us to expand our view of the Venus retrograde. So Venus going retrograde on March 1st of 2025. So if we look at here on this thing of how we see Venus in the sky, she's going retrograde in the evening sky. She's going to drop into the underworld, and this could happen on March 16th when she's 10 degrees from the sun, or on March 21st because of her relationship to the sun. It's actually a different thing happening with this cycle, and it's not something that happens with every cycle. In fact, I've only seen this happen before in March of 2017. And then, so she might be disappearing on the 21st, or she might be visible on the 21st, conjunct the sun on the 22nd, and then rises into the morning sky on the 23rd. For some locations, low horizon line, where you can see this happening, and depends on latitude, longitude, different factors of where this might be visible on Earth. But it will be visible this way for some. And then on April 12th, she's going to go direct. So she's making her metamorphic change. March 22nd, she's with the sun. And March 23rd or 29th, she's going to be rising up into the morning sky, still retrograde. Then she'll station direct on April 12th. And this is such an amazing cycle. We could say if she's conjunct the sun and rises up the next day, she's going to rise up in Aries. If she's conjunct the sun and is not visible until the 29th of March, then she is in Pisces. And so we are looking at this for many, many reasons, but this is one of them as an Aries Pisces cycle. So something else to keep in mind is that when Venus is retrograde, she's closest to the Earth, she's brightest, she's most magnificent, she's in her greatest strength, contrary to popular belief that says that Venus is diminished and it's a time not to do many things. But we're going to see that this is not the case necessarily, because she is brilliant and she is so close to the Earth that she is in her strength at that time. She's in her brilliance at that time. Venus is not limited to the mainstream astrology perspective of ruling, and we really want to move past the rules and embrace the more flexible concept of guidelines, because we've had rulers long enough in this world. So it's like, how do we get to that place of moving past the old rules? Because this Venus retrograde is breaking all those old rules anyway. But the old perspective has been that Venus is about social and love relationships, marriage, beauty, money, financial security, and what is valued. And so, as we let go of that and recognize that Venus is this and so much more, she includes combinations of as Aries, the protector; as Taurus, she's the lover; as Gemini, she's the storyteller; as Cancer, she's the mother nurturer; as Leo, she's the sovereign queen; as Virgo, she's the priestess; as Libra, she's the diplomat; as Scorpio, she's the sorceress, connecting to source to manifest, create magic and manifestation. She is in Sagittarius, the spiritual seeker; and in Capricorn, she's the leader, or she's the one who is helping us to figure out how to craft and create a new way of being in this reality. In Aquarius, she's the revolutionary, and in Pisces, she's the healer. Now, these are just one word descriptions. So, of course, it's so much more than that for all of these, but it just kind of gives you an idea that Venus is so much more than just these ideas of relationships and beauty and money and value. Venus goes way beyond all that. And for women, Venus, whatever sign Venus is in and whatever cycle you are born into in the Venus cycle represents the intended feminine expression in the current life. It is powerful to have this idea that that's what Venus is. And for men, representing the inner feminine, the inner beloved, or inner other. And again, the sign Venus is in, the cycle Venus is in, the phase of the cycle Venus is in, the whole Venus signature, so much more than just the sign that Venus is so powerful. So, the this current cycle is combining Aries Pisces as the meta goddess on the world stage for the next 19 months, starting at the end of March. And we've been working with Sekhmet as a way to understand the divine feminine energy that is being expressed on the planet at the time. And so here is how we've worked with her with Aries cycle, with the Leo cycle, and now we're working with her and as the Aries Pisces cycle because she has Piscean qualities. So Sekhmet really represents the warrior protector, the healer, the mother, and she also represents healers. So physicians, I guess, should be the word that's there, but those who are in the healing arts. She wears the solar disk with the Uraeus as a crown, representing the pure power of pure life force energy to transform and heal our world. And she embodies fierce protection, that's very Aries, and the nurturing, healing abilities of the Divine Mother, very Pisces. And she, in ancient times, was called on to ward off disease and heal the sick. So she embodies this potent feminine strength, courage, alchemy, transformation, resilience, and love. So she models our own immense power of honoring both our capacity for destroying the old outworn systems for the purpose of restoring the cosmic balance, representing Aries, with an immense ability to heal and rebuild through love, and that is Pisces. So these are just a few of the things we're going to be exploring through this cycle of how Sekhmet really represents Aries and Pisces together. She's an expression of that energy through this cycle. So here's some of the reasons why we're looking at this as Aries Pisces. So first of all, you can see here this is a sky map for March 1st. You can see Venus is right here with the moon. This is something I have never seen before. Venus is stationing retrograde at 5:36 p.m. Pacific time and is conjunct the moon at 8:25 p.m. Pacific time. So about 3 hours later, it's conjunct the moon. And that hasn't happened and in I don't even know when. I mean, it's probably happened before, but I'm not aware of when it's happened before. So this is one of the rare features of this Venus stationing retrograde. She's also stationing retrograde with the star Algenib. We'll talk about more. We'll talk about that more. But here's all this Pisces energy. Of course, the Sun is in Pisces, Saturn's in Pisces, the North Node is in Pisces, Mercury's in Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces. You can see them all here at the in the head of the fish in Pisces. And but Venus is in Aries, also in the constellation of the fish, also known as Pisces. And so this is representative of the fact that the seasonal signs, zero Aries, the vernal equinox point, is when the sun reaches zero Aries. It's currently rising in the constellation of the fish, and that will be happening on March 20th. So so there's this Piscean or fish. It's easier to say fish because people get confused, and we need to differentiate the seasonal signs from the constellations. So there's this Aries Pisces energy that's been happening actually for the last 2000 some years and will be happening for quite a while longer as the vernal equinox rises in this constellation for quite a while. So now we're looking at when Venus stations direct. So here she is in the head of the fish, stationing direct with the star Merkaba. And so she went retrograde with the star Algenib, and she's tracing back through the sky to align with the star Merkaba, when she stations direct. And again, we have Saturn and Mercury and Neptune and Venus all in Pisces. Now Neptune has just moved into Aries. So it moves into Aries on March 20, March 30th. March 30th it moves into Aries. So it hasn't moved very far into Aries. And it's going from, for the first time in 165 years, it's moving into Aries at the end of March of 2025. Then it's going to retrograde back into Pisces, back into Aries. So there's this whole Aries Pisces dance. Saturn's doing a similar thing. It hasn't quite gotten there. It won't actually move into Aries until May. And then it's going to retrograde back into Pisces, back into Aries. And then Saturn and Neptune are going to conjunct at 0 degrees Aries on February 20th, 2026, for the only time that we have ever seen in 12,000 years or some ridiculously long amount of time at the 0 Aries point. So this is also bringing in this idea of how Aries and Pisces, if we think of Pisces as the omega, the end, and Aries as the alpha, the beginning. So we have the end and beginning and the beginning and the end happening with this Venus cycle, as well as with um, Saturn and Neptune, and Mercury, of course, is going retrograde and it's going to do the same thing, so, or a similar thing. But let's look at this idea of this Mercury retrograde happening with these stars, Algenib and Markab, in the constellation of Pegasus. And Pegasus is um, a Greek word that means spring forth or gush forth. And Pegasus did um, cause springs to gush forth as he pawed the earth with his hoof, and especially the one on Mount Helicon. This was the one that was considered to help bring in the creative muse, to help people become more creative when they drank the waters of the spring. So we could ask this question: how is Pegasus carrying us into new perspective of Venus as a combined metagoddess of Aries, Pisces? So Pegasus and the star Algenib are Aries-like, giving sharp, decisive mind and this sense of enthusiasm. The shadow side of Algenib is seen as combative, obstinate, and ruined by headstrong conduct. That's also can be Aries' shadow side. And the Pisces energy of Pegasus was known for activating the springs or the healing waters that supported creative and oracular insights. So, very Aries Pisces energy that we're seeing here. And then Venus, beginning her retrograde aligned with Algenib and Pegasus in the fish constellation, has the energy of being adventurous, generous, kind, philanthropic, and regal. So, adventurous is very Aries. Uh, Aries can also be very generous but definitely Pisces comes from the kind aspect. Now, Venus completes her retrograde with the star Markab. And so here we have Algenib, and Venus is going to retrace her steps all the way back to Markab station direct here, and then retrace her steps forward. So this brings the focus to the physical expression of the soul. Markab holds the gnosis or the spiritual knowledge of metamorphosis of the physical body. Now, interestingly, when Venus is retrograde, she goes through a metamorphosis. So this is really aligned with the intent of the Venus retrograde, a metamorphosis of the physical body into a body of light in physical form. So turning our physical body into a light body, how is that not a most amazing kind of opportunity that we have coming forth? Markab is activating the Merkaba, a grid of connected energy, tetrahedrons, created around our earthly form, allowing for quantum leaps in our evolution. This is amazing. So this is part of the opportunity and possibility connected to this Venus cycle. This is also about ascending from the past into our destined human evolution. Yes, it's time for that. And Markab can transform the physical body temple or vessel of the soul, elevating our personal vibrational frequencies. And this is something that people are talking about. I've been seeing so much about this as something I've been aware of for decades, actually 50 years, when I was really introduced to these ideas when I was at Maharishi International University in Fairfield, Iowa, back in 1975. So the star Merkab activating the Merkaba, and how can we work with this energy to help activate the Merkaba within us? And so if we think about the Merkaba as a three-dimensional star tetrahedron, symbolizing the union of masculine and feminine energies, or the integration of earthly and cosmic realms or cosmic energies, then we can imagine that it's bringing together what has seemed like opposites, but now we can see as more integrated. And so energizing the sacred geometry, representing a vehicle for spiritual growth and connection, often described as the personal chariot of light. Love this, like the Merkaba is the personal chariot of light. And this word, Merkaba, comes from the Hebrew and Egyptian roots. In Hebrew, it means chariot. So hence it's why the chariot of light. In Egyptian, means light, Ka means spirit, and Ba means body. So that light body activation, the Merkaba being the light body activation, um, uh, it it's just so mind-blowing. So it activates light. This Merkaba activates light and protection around the body, transporting consciousness to higher dimensions. And we can help and assist with this process by meditating on images of the Merkaba, and I have some here, because that helps to heal and protect while restoring balance and harmony in the body. And this is going to be quite the ride, especially in March. So this might be a really good practice to just spend time gazing at these images or some other images that you have that you really like to look at that represent the Merkaba. And so meditating on the image, gazing at the image, breathing and gazing at the image. So breathing in, and there's many practices that say hold for a count of four or hold for a count of eight. Breathe in for a count of four, breathe in for a count of eight, hold for a count of four, or hold for a count of eight, breathe out for a count of four, or breathe out for a count of eight, and then hold when the breath is out for a count of four or a count of eight. Now, I find that the count of four is easier to count four, to hold and to breathe in and breathe out and hold both ends of that. But I have now been finding working with this mantra, I am a superconductor of love, is so beautiful in doing this practice. So breathing in, saying, I am a superconductor of love, holding, saying, I am a superconductor of love, breathing out, saying, I am a superconductor of love, and holding for saying, I am a superconductor of love. I feel like that has worked for me. So I'm just offering that as a thing. And it also helps to focus on love and what we really want to energize, as the superconductive field is so powerful. No lower vibrational energy can interrupt that field. Now, the sun conjunction, just want to say here's the Earth, here's Venus, and here's the sun. On the interior conjunction, it's also sometimes called the inferior conjunction, which makes it sound like less than. So that's why we call it the interior, because it's on between the Earth and the sun on the interior. And that's happening on March 22nd. So this is how it looks. And then it's going to make a conjunction on January 6, 2026 with the sun again, but it's on the exterior, or some kinds called the superior conjunction, which makes it sound like it's more important than the inferior conjunction. So again, we call it the exterior because it's on the outside, away from the Earth, on the other side of the sun, and will be with the sun. It leaves the morning sky on November 18th, and it doesn't return to the evening sky until February 17th. So it really is a nearly 3-month transit of this Venus with the sun in the underworld, the longer underworld of the cycle. Now, just to give a sense of how we measure things in the sky, if you use a finger, it's 1 degree. If you use three fingers, it's 5 degrees. If you use your fist, it's 10 degrees. And then you can see that we can also measure 15 and 25 degrees in the sky. And the reason this is important is because the measurement that we use for when Venus rises in the morning sky is 10 degrees. And so if you hold your fist out and you put the sun on one side and Venus on the other, or any planet or star on one side of the fist and on something on the other side, that's about 10 degrees. And that's considered to be a conjunction. So with that in mind, Venus retrograde begins on March 1st and it's 29 degrees from the sun. So there was we can see that you can measure at least 25 degrees with your hand. So it's a little bit past that in the evening sky. Then Venus is either going to be 10 degrees from the sun on March 16th, hence why we would say that's when Venus disappears from the underworld, because that's the conjunction, or 3 degrees on March 21st. I mean, 1 degree, sorry, on March 21st. But again, because of the way that the sun and Venus are in relationship to each other, it could be that Venus is visible until March 21st. Then has the conjunction with the sun on March 22nd. Then the heliacal rise either March 23, again due to um, the relationship. I want to say declination, but it might be more the latitude or the longitude of Venus in relationship to the sun. So it's going to actually rise up before the sun. And we'll go into more detail in another video I'll do, or that one that Sheridan and I have done on this. Uh, yeah, we're going to probably do one for the greater community, so you can stay tuned for that. Anyway, but March 29th is when Venus reaches 10 degrees from the sun. So it's considered to be the heliacal rise of Venus at that time in Pisces at 29 degrees Pisces. So either she's rising in 2 degrees Aries on March 23rd, or she's rising at 29 degrees Pisces on March 29th. And then Venus stations direct at 25 degrees Pisces, 28 degrees from the sun. And then the first Venus Moon conjunction will be on April 24th, as I mentioned before, at 27 Pisces. So the Pisces Aries energy, it's this whole Pisces Aries dance that's taking place. So the Venus cycle that and the ways that we work with it is guided by Inanna and Ishtar stories, the story of their descent into the underworld, going through an initiatory experience. And so the 19-month synodic cycle of Venus is a powerful ceremonial initiatory rite of passage. And the way that we work with it is guided by the story of Inanna or Ishtar's ascent and return as cosmological description of how Venus moves through the sky. So the Sumerians ceremonially reenacted the entire Inanna story when Venus became visible as morning star near the spring equinox. That's what's happening now. That's what makes this cycle so unique and so amazing, in addition to the fact that it's going retrograde in with the stars Algenib and Markab, and also it may rise up in the day after it's conjunct the sun. It may not even disappear until the day before it's conjunct the sun. There's so many factors about this that are startling and amazing. In addition to the fact that we have Neptune and Saturn at the zero Aries point near the spring equinox point happening this year, Neptune happening closer to the spring equinox than Saturn, or the March equinox, fall equinox for those in the southern hemisphere. Anyway, this ancient telling is how they were able to ceremonially engage the Venus initiation, both personally and collectively. They did their collective ceremonies every 8 years when Venus rose near the spring equinox or the March equinox. And so this is an unusual end of the Leo Venus cycle, and a rare and unusual beginning for the Aries Pisces Venus cycle, and how we are seeing that it's not just Aries and it's not just Pisces, it's both Aries and Pisces. So if you're interested and want to learn more about this, you can go to venusalchemy.com, or you can see the link in the show notes. And just hoping that this is inspiring you to realize that we are in a super rare, unprecedented time. It was 251 years ago when Venus went retrograde. At the same degree on the same day and went direct around the same degree on the same day back in 1774. And it wasn't conjunct the moon. So this is how rare and special and unique this cycle is. And I hope this inspires you to feel inspired to go out and see Venus in the evening sky, before she disappears, and then go out and see Venus in the morning sky once she reappears.